What's going on, gardeners? It's Monday, December 26th, and just like much of the country, it is absolutely freezing here on the southeastern coast of North Carolina. But where there's crisis, there is also opportunity. Due to this huge cold front sweeping the nation, now is the perfect time for me to be able to prove to you exactly what are the most cold-hardy winter vegetables that you can grow in your winter garden. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon storefront and spread shop in the video description for a list of the gardening products I use and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated. The morning of December 24th, we fell as cold as 18.7 degrees before sunrise, spending a total of 38 hours below freezing, aside from a brief 1-hour period where we rose to 33.4 degrees. Then we fell to 18.7 degrees again before sunrise on the 25th, then fell all the way to 16.5 degrees before sunrise on the 26th. Prolonged temperatures like this are almost unheard of where I live, so now is the perfect opportunity to take you through my garden and show you exactly what died, survived, and maybe even thrived in these terrible conditions. The first thing that you'll notice is that all of my garden beds have been covered with various forms of frost cloths and frost blankets. And we cover our vegetables during these cold outbreaks for 3 main reasons. Number 1, these covers keep the frost from forming on top of the vegetation, and frost forming on vegetation can cause a lot of damage. So simply preventing frost formation does a lot to the hardiness of the plant. The second reason is to block the wind chill. We all know that the wind chill feels way colder than the actual ambient temperature outside. So just like our skin gets burnt from the wind chill, plants can get burnt by the wind chill as well. So blocking that wind helps improve cold hardiness. And 3, as gardeners, we often obsessed about what the minimum temperatures that plants can survive are. But the truth is that time below freezing is just as important, if not more important, because if you don't bounce back above freezing at sunrise, you can actually take damage to your plants at a much higher temperature when you constantly spend that time below freezing and they can't recover. So putting covers on your plants traps the sun and warms them up above freezing well before your ambient air temperature moves above freezing. So it's something that you can do to really increase the hardiness of your plants and minimize damage. Now, these covers have all been on these plants for 3 days straight, so we can actually get an accurate gauge as to if any damage set in on these plants. Now, it usually takes several days for damage to show from cold damage. You often can get a freeze and everything looks fine the very first day, and then the damage starts to set in on day 2 or 3. So now that we've given it several days, we'll know exactly what we're dealing with. So let's start uncovering these and see what we're dealing with. The first bed that we're going to uncover are my carrots, beets, dill, and cilantro, which is all under this frost cloth right here. This is agricultural fabric. And these carrots right here, I ran out of cloth, so I wasn't able to cover them. And I'm happy to report they're absolutely fine. So carrots will completely laugh at 16 degrees and prolonged temperatures under freezing. So no big deal there. So as I mentioned, these are the carrots that were not covered right here. They're totally fine. Some beets on the end right here, they were not covered, and as you can see, the foliage is burnt, but I think they're going to recover. The actual beetroot underground should be fine. These beets and carrots right here all were covered, and they look really good. No damage at all to them. Then we have right here our dill, and dill constantly surprises me by how cold hardy it is. Under cover, 16 degrees, no challenge at all to that dill. Look how gorgeous it is. It's just standing completely upright. Same thing with our cilantro. Cilantro is a joke when it comes to 16 degrees. That probably would have taken it completely unprotected. So look how beautiful that cilantro is. And our small beets and our young carrots planted right here, totally fine under cover. So 16 degrees, all that time below freezing, not a problem. Now under this cover, we have a little bit of a top secret experiment going on, and I don't want to say too much about it, but under here there is some lettuce, some leeks, and a couple of other things that are growing. Wow, just check this out. This is parsley right here, completely unharmed, absolutely gorgeous. This is the marvel of 4-season lettuce in the middle right here, absolutely gorgeous, and some very young leek transplants, also completely unharmed. And I don't want to say too much about this because I have a big video on this coming in the future. Well, so far I am thrilled by what I'm seeing, but how is my main winter garden faring? That's all under this big frost blanket, and I have not checked on this in 3 days. I have no idea what I'm about to uncover here. And before I show you the results of my main garden, I want you to see the dichotomy right here in lettuce. At least I'm assuming there's going to be one. This is romaine lettuce, which is not particularly cold tolerant. I didn't have enough coverage on this cover to cover this lettuce right here. And as you can see, they are all badly burnt. Some of it may still be edible, but they look terrible. And, well, it looks like the stuff under the cover isn't all that much better. It is a little bit better. But romaine lettuce, not particularly hardy, not a great choice for a winter garden. Still tastes pretty good. So we'll start out with the romaine. Again, not looking all that good, but it wasn't looking too good to begin with. Not super hardy. Don't grow romaine in the winter. My young broccoli plants, on the other hand, they are looking fantastic. The florets are A-okay. Looks like no damage at all to them. Undercover with 16-degree temperatures. The mustard greens next to them, flawless. Not one little bit of burn on them. They just laughed at the cold. And it looks to be the same for this red Russian kale. Wow. Flawless, unharmed. Then we have the lacinato kale, also flawless and unharmed. Even the little baby kale back there looks totally fine. Then we have the green cabbage. Again, totally unharmed, it appears. No damage at all to the green cabbage. My goodness. And the red cabbage, which is usually even hardier than the green stuff, looks great. This chard that you see, this chard was burned in the frost probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. That actually isn't from this cold spell. Chard is not as cold hardy. It's kind of hit or miss, but it looks like it's all going to survive. Some of it is in better shape than others. And I think that the only maybe casualty right here is my beautiful broccoli plant that was starting to crown. The crown was pressed up against the frost cover, and it looks like it got burnt. So that's my mistake. If I probably would have put some kind of stake there to prevent it from touching the frost cover, it would probably be okay, but I think that broccoli plant might be a loss. But everything else, wow, they look just fantastic. I'm super impressed. Okay, so the mature plants did really well, but how did the younger transplants do? Well, it looks like the transplanted lacinato kale is completely and totally unharmed. So is the transplanted red Russian kale, and the dwarf blue curly kale. That may look the best of all. This is completely flawless. Then we have my favorite winter lettuce, the Marvel of 4 Seasons. All of the lettuce that contacted the frost blanket got a little bit of burn on it. None of the lettuce that was not contacting the frost blanket has any damage on it. So if you have the ability to put up a little hoop structure and get that frost cloth off of your plant so it doesn't touch, it looks like this would have sailed through with absolutely no problems at all. But this isn't a tremendously big deal because the heads are going to keep growing and they'll grow right out of that. Then we have some younger broccoli plants right here in another bed. These look great. I know they're wilting a little bit, but this is because they've been undercover, not getting any sun for 3 days. So they're going to perk back up now that they're in full sun for the remainder of the day, and we're getting into the upper 40s today. So they're going to bounce back. And if I have to peel off, a little leaf like this because it's a little sad looking, it's not going to matter because it's going to grow right back from this center stalk right here. And just like the others, the green cabbage and the red cabbage or the purple cabbage is completely unharmed. Then we have more of this Marvel of 4 Seasons lettuce right here. It's doing A-okay. Looks like a little burn mark here where maybe the frost blanket touched the foliage, but overall the taller cabbage and broccoli kept the frost blanket off these plants. Whatever this red lettuce is, I forget what it is, it's doing fantastic. Even this spare romaine head right here that wasn't touched by the frost blanket looks absolutely fantastic. So that goes to show you how damaging it can be when the frost blankets freeze to the foliage of plants. Something really exciting to me is how incredible this arugula did. Under this frost blanket, no damage at all. It's absolutely perfect. So delicious and nutty and peppery. And then all of the spinach is also fine for the most part. It looks like there's a little bit of damage on the very young leaves where the frost blanket touched, but the larger spinach could endure that. Only the smaller spinach plants got a little bit of burn, and we'll just give them some high nitrogen fertilizer and they will grow right out of it. Then in this bed right here, I have more Marvel of Four Seasons lettuce and rapini, also known as broccoli rabe. Now, I did not have any frost covers to cover them with, so I used this insect netting that was here and then put this old hoop house structure on it just to weigh it down. So this is not a real cover, it's just the best I can do. So let's pull this off and see what we're looking at. Now this one kind of hurts a little bit here. All of this beautiful Marvel of Four Seasons lettuce in the back, it did get burned. It's all still alive. It's doing okay, but a lot of those burnt leaves aren't going to be all that edible. I will still be able to harvest some of this and then give it some fertilizer and it will grow back in a cut and come again fashion. What I'm really impressed about here is how well the rapini did. Now it is kind of drooping a little bit. It's not happy, but I think a lot of that is just because of the cloth that has been weighing down on it, and it is going to perk right back up. So all of these things like the florets, they all look, for the most part, completely fine. Yeah, they taste delicious. All of this is totally a-okay. And this can be cut back and it will grow back, but I think this is a-okay. I don't think there's really any damage at all to this rapini. The last couple of things that I want to go over are things that were completely uncovered in my garden, and these plants right here are leeks that I started from the cut ends of grocery store leeks. They were completely uncovered and they are 100% fine. They'll grow through it no problem. And these are just random grocery store varieties. They're probably not even cold hardy types, so leeks laugh at this kind of cold. Now this leek right here is a little grocery store cutting that I planted only about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago. So that did get a little bit burnt because it's not fully established, but the central spear right here, I can feel it, it's completely fine. So it's going to grow right through that and these leaves will just fall off by the wayside. Then over here, this is some volunteer garlic that came up. Garlic is pretty much completely invincible in these types of temperatures. You can see I have young garlic cloves that are sprouting up all over around my garden. This is Spanish Roja hardneck garlic. You can grow garlic all the way down to zone 3. Hardneck garlic don't care about cold. Then we have my German thyme plant right here. This thyme plant is several years old. This thing is completely bulletproof. There is no freeze anywhere near where I live that could ever damage this plant. And then right here we have my Italian oregano plant that's been growing in this little 3-gallon grow bag for probably 6 years now. This plant, when it was a small fraction of the size, flew through the 8-degree Fahrenheit freeze we got in January of 2018. Oregano in zone 8, even portions of zone 7 is evergreen all year. You can harvest it whenever you want throughout the winter. This stuff is pretty bulletproof. And over here I have some old Scarlet Bandit bunching onions that I planted last spring in my garden, and I haven't really done much with them. I'm probably just going to pull them and mulch them. So obviously they were not protected, and overall they don't really seem to have been bothered by the cold. Looks like some of them got burnt a little bit due to the wind chill, but the greens are still pretty much okay. Yep, tastes like a green onion. So for the most part, they're okay, uncovered. With something like this, they would benefit though from some type of frost cloth. The thing that I love about gardening is it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, you learn new things every single season. And while I was confident that most of the things I showed you in this video would do pretty well, I didn't think they'd do this well considering how bad of a cold air outbreak it is. So now I can very confidently give you a list of all of the things in my garden that I really do think laugh at 16 degrees. And now I have some evidence to prove it. And they are as follows. The list of plants in my garden that will laugh at 16 degrees completely uncovered are carrots, cilantro, parsley, leeks, garlic, thyme, and oregano. The plants in my garden that will laugh at 16 degrees with a light agricultural fabric or frost blanket covering them, especially if you don't let it touch the foliage, are beets, dill, onions, red leaf lettuces, cabbage, broccoli, kale, mustard greens, spinach, and arugula. And the two things in my garden that are questionable at best are Swiss chard and romaine lettuce. They may be doable. They'd especially be doable in a zone 9, but I think here in zone 8 or colder, it's a little bit of a stretch to want them all winter long unless they're really mature, in which case things like romaine lettuce is going to start getting bitter on you, so you probably wouldn't want that anyway. And that right there is what I think is a pretty darn comprehensive list of vegetables that can not only survive but thrive during a 16-degree Arctic air mass outbreak. And I'm really impressed by how well everything did. I thought I'd see more damage than this, and it goes to show you how very tough these plants are and how many of you can be growing these plants all season long if you're willing to give them a little bit of protection. Now, for those of you out there that are thinking, I don't feel like bringing out these frost blankets and agricultural fabric covers, this is way less work than it is maintaining these plants in the spring and summer. Think about all of the pests and diseases that we have to account for and spray for and pick off our vegetables all summer long. Now there is no pest or disease pressure at all, and so what if a couple of nights a year you have to bring out these fabric covers? If you don't feel like doing that, just build some PVC hoop house structures around your raised garden beds or your earth beds and just clip an agricultural fabric that lets UV light through all year round, and just leave them on there and you'll have nothing to worry about and you won't have to go through any headache at all. So for the overwhelming majority of you watching this, I really think you can be growing a lot of these plants all winter long, and if not for the whole winter, you can probably grow them until early December and then pick back up again in late February or so and get a massive jump start on the season if you live in a particularly cold climate. So everybody, I sure hope you found this video helpful and it gives you some ideas for what you can grow in late winter this year and all throughout the winter next year. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and please ring that notification bell so you're notified when we release more videos like these. If you're curious about any of the agricultural fabric or frost blanket that I used in this video, as well as anything I use in real life in my garden in general, they are all linked down below in my Amazon storefront in the video description. These products work fantastic and I highly recommend them. And while you're there, check out my spread shop for custom merch if you want to support the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see all of you again on the next video. What's going on there, buddy? You finding some good sniffs over here? We're over by the pond going for our walk. This is where all the dogs congregate, so there's all kinds of good sniffs here. Come on, buddy. We're going to start getting heavy rain in about 30 minutes. I'm starting to feel the drizzles now. We're going to get rained on. Come on, buddy. We got to make it home before it starts raining. Come on, Dale. Come on. Come on. Come on, buddy. Oh, he's tripping. Got to get his harness unstuck.